So I think that everybody has been monitoring the Cowboys' injuries because of the fact of where we stand right now, early in the year. And with Dalton Schultz's injury, and luckily it wasn't serious that could have sidelined him for several weeks, there is a possibility he does miss this game versus the Giants. But with that, I think this opens the door to Jake Ferguson, and him having the opportunity to showcase, hey, this is what I bring to your team aside from the blocking and all this other stuff. So we're going to talk about that in today's video. So before we do, if you can like the video, that'd be greatly appreciated. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. Please do all that. Do your due diligence and make sure that Stephen Jones doesn't take your pie by not doing those things. So, look, I think we take a look at what's going on here, and the Cowboys not giving Schultz a long-term deal. It's starting to look like that they made the right decision, but in reality, this is the problem, is that, Dalton Schultz getting hurt and going through what he's going through right now is a prime example of, if you're a agent that has a player that is on a franchise tag, why you don't want to do that, because you run into risks like this where, okay, you get hurt and you run the risk of losing out on a long-term deal, not just with the team that you're trying to get it from, but also other teams, because you get hurt, your numbers plummet, so teams aren't as likely to give you that kind of money. But we don't know exactly what Jake Ferguson will fully bring to the table, given the fact that we have only seen him in several factors here and there. And I think that him having a full game, could really tell us a lot about what we got at that tight end position. Because I really like what I've been seeing from Jake Ferguson when it comes to blocking the, with the offense and this, that, and the third. But if Jake Ferguson can show elements of being a solid receiving tight end, I think that this is going to give the Cowboys that leverage to be like, listen, we already got a guy that we feel like is better in the blocking realm of things, fits what we're trying to do offensively. You can go Dalton. And I think that that is something that if you're Dalton Schultz, you don't want to see, because if you have a guy in Jake Ferguson who continues to do better and better and better, and he starts outproducing you, and especially in assignments that the Cowboys want to have him do, that's going to be a problem, because Dalton hasn't really had the best start to the year. I mean, you had a fumble, which nearly cost us the game. You have been, I'm going to be honest, you haven't been good. You've been terrible blocking, and that's caused several plays to blow up. Pretty pedestrian in the sense of like what he's done for the team. But again, it's a tight end, and, sometimes unless you have these elite guys, you're not really going to get a whole lot out of them. But still, that begs the question, okay, like if you're trying to say you deserve this kind of money, and I'm all for him getting his money, I think the problem is you are giving more incentives to the Cowboys organization to be like, yeah, we don't want to pay you, and that's a problem. And I think that, hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Dalton Schultz does get a contract extension, but maybe he's like, listen, I can't get that big money because of the bad year I had. But again, when you have your starting quarterback out, that doesn't help, and then you are dependent on how the scheme works with the backup, and then we'll see. Listen, if Dalton Schultz continues to do his thing, then maybe he has an argument, but I mean, we've kind of heard about how the Joneses are a bit apprehensive to giving out these contract extensions. I mean, if you're a Cowboys fan, you know this. But I'm a bit intrigued to see what Jake Ferguson does if he gets the start on Monday. I mean, there's still no guarantee that he sits out. I mean, we're hearing that Gallup might return, and I've touched up on this in the Jalen Tolbert video, was that, with a guy in Michael Gallup returning, then eventually you're going to have James Washington return. Jalen Tolbert really isn't going to get that much playing time if the other guys are doing well. This is different because it's a smaller position group, and, I mean, maybe, Jake Ferguson makes a point to be like, hey, can you get me involved in the offense? Hey, I'm over here. Like, that's something there, because right now, through 2 games, Dalton Schultz has 9 receptions for 80 yards, which, again, I'm not trying to, gatekeep and say that Schultz needs to be at the same mark he was last year for me, because I know what I'm getting in Dalton Schultz. My problem is that the Joneses, unless you give them that kind of level of production, they're not going to give you the money. And I think, now has Dalton Schultz earned the contract? I think that we have to wait to see how the year pans out, because let's be honest with ourselves. I mean, you know, Schultz has been what you want in a tight end, someone that gives you solid production for minimal amounts of money. But then again, if Jake Ferguson comes in and does the same thing, then there's no point in paying a guy like Dalton Schultz, hence why he should have secured the bag when he did. And I think that this is kind of reaffirming, like, you could have just let the guy walk and he would have been just fine. But I think that, you know, if you bring Schultz back on a long-term deal and you have him paired with Ferguson, I think you got a nice little tight end group there. I'm just taking a look at some notes here. McCarthy saying we're not sure, and I mean, if I'm being real with you guys, I think that's going to pose a problem for the Cowboys. If Schultz comes back, and now you have, or rather, Gallup comes back, and then, you know, Schultz is hampered by this PCL injury that he has, and then it's like you're repeating the same mistake you did with Zeke. Like, you're just playing the guy for the sake of playing the guy. So, I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think that the Cowboys should pay Dalton Schultz at this point? Do you think that, okay, they have the out to let go of Dalton Schultz? You know, let me know down below, because this is very much so a big question as the year goes on. Because if Schultz has the same amount of numbers that he did last year, I think we'll have an argument. But if he has a worse season and, like, the injury hampers him, I mean, I don't know, guys. This is definitely a tough pickle to be in if you're in Dalton Schultz, especially since they drafted a guy that you can argue could be his replacement. I know I've had comments tell me, oh, Space Cowboy, you know, you should still pay him, and it's because of the fact that now you have a good tight end group. But the problem is that this is the Joneses. Yes, they do like a particular type of tight end, and I think that Ferguson is that kind of mold, a blocking tight end that has receiving elements to him, or rather the complete tight end, you know, like the Jason Witten type. Not saying that Jake Ferguson's like Jason Witten, but my point is that he exudes qualities similar to that. Now, if it, you know, if pencil comes to paper, maybe, but anyways, let me know what you guys think down below. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Alright guys, have a good one. Goodbye.